The first time I refused to dance with my wife was the night I realized how far apart we had drifted, even while standing in the same room. The ballroom lights shimmered across polished floors, laughter echoed against the tall glass windows, and couples slowly moved together to the gentle rhythm of music. But while everyone else seemed wrapped in warmth and connection, I stood alone near the edge of the room, staring at the woman I once believed would always hold my hand through life. Her name was Victoria, and for months, she had been slowly pushing me away. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances in love, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in real relationships, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this one. My name is Matthew Collins, and for 12 years I believed I had a strong marriage. Victoria and I met in Austin, Texas, when we were both young and hopeful. She had a bright laugh that could light up an entire room, and a kindness that made strangers feel comfortable within minutes of meeting her. I was quieter, more reserved, but she used to say that my calm nature made her feel safe. We built a life together piece by piece. We bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood outside Austin. We planted roses in the backyard that Victoria insisted would bloom brighter every spring. We spent evenings cooking dinner together, laughing about work stories and dreaming about the future. But somewhere along the way, something changed. It didn't happen suddenly. At first it was small things. Victoria stopped sitting next to me on the couch. She began staying late at work more often. Our conversations became shorter, more practical, almost mechanical. When I tried to hug her, she sometimes stiffened slightly before pulling away with a polite smile. At night, she started sleeping closer to the edge of the bed. I told myself it was stress. Life gets busy, people go through phases. But weeks turned into months, and every time I tried to talk about it, Victoria brushed it aside with the same gentle but distant response. She would say she was just tired. She would promise things would feel normal again soon. But normal never returned. Instead, the quiet distance between us slowly grew into something heavier, something painful. The night of the charity gala in Dallas was supposed to be a fresh start. Victoria had insisted we attend together. It was an important event for her company, filled with executives, investors, and colleagues. She bought a beautiful navy blue dress and spent hours preparing for the evening. When I saw her standing in the doorway before we left, she looked just as stunning as the woman I'd fallen in love with years earlier. For a moment, I felt hope. Maybe tonight we would reconnect. Maybe we would laugh again. Maybe we would finally feel like a couple again. The ballroom inside the Grand Regency Hotel sparkled with elegance. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling like glowing crystals, and soft music floated through the air as guests mingled and enjoyed the evening. Victoria quickly became surrounded by coworkers and executives. She smiled, laughed, and spoke confidently with everyone around her. But strangely, she barely spoke to me. Whenever I stepped closer, she drifted away into another conversation. Whenever someone suggested couples join the dance floor, she found an excuse to stay seated or speak with another guest. At first I tried not to think about it, but as the night went on, the pattern became impossible to ignore. She seemed comfortable with everyone in the room, everyone except me. Then the band began playing a slow song. Couples moved toward the dance floor, hands intertwined, bodies swaying softly to the music. Victoria walked toward me. For the first time that evening, she looked directly into my eyes. She extended her hand slightly, her expression gentle but uncertain. But something inside me had already cracked. For months I had tried to hold our marriage together while feeling invisible. For months I had reached out only to feel her quietly pull away. And standing there in that beautiful ballroom, I suddenly realized I didn't want to pretend everything was fine anymore. So when Victoria asked if I wanted to dance, I shook my head. I told her softly that I didn't feel like dancing tonight. The words weren't angry, but they carried the weight of everything I had been feeling. For a brief second, Victoria looked stunned. Then something even more painful appeared in her eyes. Not anger, not frustration, but heartbreak. She slowly lowered her hand and nodded politely before turning away. I watched her walk toward the balcony doors alone. For several minutes I stood there, wondering if I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. Eventually I stepped outside to get some air. The cool Dallas night wrapped around the balcony, and the distant city lights stretched across the horizon like scattered stars. Victoria was standing at the railing. Her shoulders were trembling slightly. At first I thought she was cold, but when she turned toward me, I realized she had been crying. That moment shattered something inside me, because for months I had believed she was pushing me away out of indifference. But the tears on her face told a very different story. Victoria finally told me the truth she had been hiding. Almost a year earlier, she had received a medical diagnosis that terrified her. A rare autoimmune condition that doctors warned could worsen unpredictably over time. She had spent months researching the illness, reading stories of people whose lives slowly changed because of it. Some lost mobility, some struggled with constant pain, some became dependent on the people they loved most. Victoria had been afraid, not just of the illness, but of becoming a burden. She told me she had started pushing me away because she believed it would hurt less if I slowly detached from her now rather than watch her suffer later. She thought distancing herself was protecting me, protecting the life she believed I deserved. Standing there on that quiet balcony, hearing those words, I felt something break open inside my chest. All those months of silence suddenly made sense. The distance, the hesitation, the quiet fear hiding behind her smiles. I stepped closer to her and gently took her hands. For the first time in months, she didn't pull away. I told her something simple but important. Love wasn't meant to be convenient. Marriage wasn't a contract for perfect circumstances. It was a promise to stay, especially when life became uncertain. And the idea of losing her slowly was far more terrifying than facing any illness together. That night we stood on the balcony for a long time, talking honestly for the first time in months. The music inside the ballroom continued, couples dancing without realizing how deeply one marriage had just changed outside those glass doors. Eventually another slow song began. Victoria wiped her tears and looked at me with the same warmth I had missed for so long. This time, when she asked if I wanted to dance, I said yes. And as we stepped back into the ballroom together, I realized something important. Sometimes people don't push us away because they stopped loving us. Sometimes they do it because they're afraid we love them too much. Before we reach the ending, I have a special request for you. Comment the word hope if you believe that love can survive even the hardest seasons of life. That night didn't magically solve everything. Victoria still faced medical challenges. There were doctor appointments, uncertain days, and moments of fear. But something had changed between us. The walls had fallen. And instead of drifting apart in silence, we began facing the future together. One honest conversation had saved a marriage that misunderstanding nearly destroyed. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in real love, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more emotional stories that remind us what truly matters in life. Because sometimes, the moment we refuse to dance is the very moment